Welcome back to the Cops and Writers podcast bonus series. I'm Patrick O'Donnell, retired Milwaukee police sergeant, and I'll be your host for tonight's show. Big news. Police Stories The Rookie Years launched late last night and is already climbing the charts on Amazon. This is the final bonus chapter before we return to our regular programming next week. I've read you some heavy chapters over these past weeks. Triple homicides, kidnappings, dying declarations. Tonight's a little different. Tonight's about a snowy night, a head-on collision, and three very different people who all made my rookie shift a bit of a nightmare. The Howells, a wealthy couple in a Jaguar who reminded me of Gilligan's Island characters. Pam, a young woman in a little black dress who looked like she stepped off the set of The Office. And a busybody nurse who wanted to be a cop more than I did. This is chapter 26, The Howells versus Pam from The Office. Here we go. It was a cold night, and I was working Squad 55 solo. The snow had been steady for 8 hours before I came into work. The plow trucks weren't keeping up with the heavy white stuff falling from the sky, and we all knew that meant we would be investigating traffic accidents because of the inclement weather. I was new and had only investigated a handful of accidents, and I was with another cop who helped. I responded to a handful of hitches to start the night, and around 2:30 a.m., the inevitable call came over my radio. Squad 55, head on over to Lafayette and Lake Drive to take the two-car PI accident. Two cars collided head-on and are obstructing traffic. Ambulance sent. Squad 55. I thought to myself, I'm going to bet that one or both drivers are pickles, drunks. The snow was picking up its pace and was now freezing to my worn windshield wipers, making a groaning sound every time they moved. I let out a sigh. Squad 55, 10-4. When I arrived, I saw a Nissan Sentra and a Jaguar XJ12 in the middle of the intersection. Both had substantial damage and were not drivable. There was an ambulance on scene with the driver of the Sentra laying on a cot inside being treated by EMTs. Proudly standing next to their Jaguar was a couple that looked like they were in their early 60s. He was wearing an expensive-looking suit, and his wife was wearing a full-length fur coat. They reminded me of Thurston Howell III and his wife, Lovey, from the television show Gilligan's Island. I waved at them and told them I would be right with them. I then went to the Sentra and checked out the inside, opening the driver's side door. I noticed a crack on the inside of the windshield that had blood on it. I then jumped up into the ambulance. Lying on the cot was an attractive woman in her early to mid-20s. She had dark auburn hair and piercing green eyes. She had full makeup and blood-red lipstick on her lips that matched her manicured nails. The woman, who looked like Pam from the television show The Office, was wearing a little black dress. She had about a 4-inch laceration on her forehead that was going to need stitches or glue to put back together. Pam told me she was on her way home from an office Christmas party, and she lost control of her car because of the snow on the road. The EMTs advised me they were going to take her to St. Mary's because it was only a couple of minutes away, and she would need to get her head checked out. I told them I would catch up with them when I got the cars towed. I walked over to the Howells and told them to get into the back of my squad and out of the snow and cold. They both awkwardly got into the back of my squad, navigating the hard plastic back seat and lack of space with wet dress shoes and high heels. It didn't take Lovey long to pipe up. Officer, I demand that you arrest that young girl. Obviously, she has been drinking. She could have killed us. I ignored her for the moment and got the pertinent information from Thurston that I needed for my accident report and the tow slip. Thurston was level-headed and addressed all my questions with respect. I was watching the two of them in my rearview mirror. She was clearly displeased and glaring at her husband. She opened her mouth to send another volley my way when a tow truck arrived. I gave her that hold that thought wave and jumped out of the squad. I gave The tow truck driver both toe slips and directed traffic as he attached the chains to the front of the Jaguar. Slowly, the Jaguar was dragged up onto the flatbed with an accompanying symphony of crunching sounds before the luxury automobile found its ultimate resting place for the ride to the tow yard. He then hooked up the sensor to the back of the flatbed and waved goodbye to me. As I walked back to my squad, I could see the look of horror the Howells had witnessing their Jag pulled up onto a flatbed. Lovey didn't waste any time laying into me as soon as I took my seat in the squad. I can't believe that tow truck driver treated our car with such recklessness. How much damage did he just inflict on our car? I looked back at her with a smirk. Nobody should see their car get towed. There is no gentle way of doing it. It is just ugly, but necessary. Mrs. Howell switched gears. I demand that you arrest that young girl for drunk driving. She told us she had come from a party. All you have to do is look at her little party dress, her hair, her makeup. Oh, she was definitely partying tonight. Look at what she did to our car. I gave all of this a couple of seconds of thought and fired back. Okay, ma'am. You both look very nice tonight. Where are you coming from? She answered in a proud tone, not thinking about what she was about to say. My husband's firm threw a Christmas party for the employees. We were coming home from that. Her husband was the one throwing daggers with his eyes at her now. Officer, let's forget the whole thing. I already called someone who was picking us up. Thank you for your patience. I don't think that young lady is intoxicated. The snow is falling hard, and it was just an accident. Lovey wasn't having it. Are you kidding me? I demand that you arrest her. I want to talk to your supervisor. I returned the volley. Of course, ma'am. I'd be happy to do that. But if I'm going to investigate the accident as alcohol related, I will have to ask your husband to do some field sobriety tests for me. I'm guessing that you weren't drinking club soda all night at your party. Were you, sir? Thurston delivered a quick elbow to his wife's ribs that made her jump. She finally figured out that she was talking her husband into a DUI. Thurston cleared his throat. Officer, you don't have to call your boss. My wife has had a bit too much to drink and isn't thinking clearly. We just want to go home. I really don't care what you wind up doing with that young lady. I hope she isn't hurt badly. I let out a sigh of relief. That's what I wanted to hear. I don't know what I'm doing with drunk driving arrests. You're probably both at fault, and I would be trying to figure out the paperwork until noon. A set of headlamps came our way, and Thurston got excited, pointing out the car heading towards us. That's all right, officer. Thank you for being so understanding and professional. I got out and opened the door, helping them both out and waving goodbye to them as they got into their ride. I waved and said under my breath, "Good riddance, assholes. If I knew what I was doing, you would spend the night in jail." I was making my way back to the squad when a black Lincoln Town car stopped in the middle of the intersection, almost causing another accident, and honked its horn. The driver's side window slowly went down, and a man was waving at me to come to him. With the dread of a citizen reporting another accident overwhelming me, I made my way to the man who was almost jumping out of his seat with excitement. I got to the window and the man looked familiar, but I couldn't put my finger on it until he opened his mouth. "Hi, officer. I'm Mr. Smith from Channel X News. What's going on here?" Now I realize this guy is the sports reporter for the 10 p.m. news. He was slurring his words and stank of stale booze. I thought to myself, this shit can't be happening. Get the fuck out of here. As I told him everything was fine and he needed to move along. He complied, and I drove to St. Mary's to meet up with Pam. She was sitting up in a hospital bed, and I saw the gash on her forehead that had not yet been taken care of. She was crying, and I could tell she was genuinely scared. What's going to happen to me? The nurse said that I was going to get arrested. Ugh, that's all I need. A nurse who wanted to be a cop or just didn't like Pam. One step at a time, okay? She did have a slight odor of alcohol on her person, but she wasn't slurring her words or giving any other clues she was drunk. I think you've had a shitty enough night without going to jail. Her face showed an immediate wave of relief with a big smile. Thank you, officer. A nurse who was in her late 50s and wearing a scowl for a facial covering waved at me to meet her outside the room. She walked me about 20 feet away from Pam's room. I'm sh- I sure hope you're taking her in for drunk driving. I'll draw the blood for you. Aren't you a little helper? I thought, as I explained to her. I would have to do an HGN, horizontal gaze nystagmus test, to determine if she was impaired. The last time I did one of these was during police academy training, about a year ago. I forgot how to do it properly, but the nurse didn't know this. We both went into Pam's room, and I took out my red pen from my pocket. The angry nurse stood by the door as if she were going to guard it in case Pam was going to make a break for it. I went close to Pam's face and winked so only she could see it. I whispered, just go along with it. She gave me a nod. I told her in my professional voice I would conduct a field sobriety test. Just hold your head straight and follow the tip of my pen with your eyes. Your beautiful green eyes. Like a good Irish Catholic, I made the sign of the cross with my pen and explained to the nurse with a syringe and tourniquet at the ready, she's not drunk. She passed the test. I said my goodbyes to Pam and wished her well. The nurse followed me out, stomping her feet. I can't believe this. I'm calling your sergeant. I stopped and looked into her beady little eyes. Please do. But you will wait a while. He's at a shooting, the second one of the night. It won't be long, and I will probably be doing the same. That left the nurse speechless. Before I walked out the doors of the ER, I turned back at the nurse and gave her a smile and a wave. That's chapter 26 from Police Stories The Rookie Years. The Howells, Pam, and the nurse who wanted to be a junior cop. Sometimes being a rookie cop means pretending you know what you're doing, even when you're making the sign of the cross with a red pen and calling it a sobriety test. The book launched late yesterday night, and it is available right now on Amazon, Kindle and paperback editions. 34 chapters like this one. Some heavy, some absurd, all true. You've heard 8 chapters over these bonus episodes. There are 26 more waiting for you. Search Police Stories Patrick O'Donnell on Amazon or check the link in the show notes. If you grab a copy, please leave an honest review. Launch week reviews make a huge difference. This is the last bonus chapter. Next week, we're going back to regular interviews. Thank you for riding along these past few weeks. It's been fun sharing these stories with you. Until next time, let's be careful out there.